Sir, we are now recording.
Okay. Welcome to the meeting Tuesday, January 5th of the Hopkinton School District Finance Committee. We are meeting remotely via the governor's executive order, which allows us to do that. And the meeting has been posted. If you're watching this, you obviously have the Zoom link. If you're listening to this, the Zoom link is available at the website. And there's a phone number to call in if you're having any difficulties with any of the above. So we've got quite a bit to do today. So I believe the first order of business would just be briefly talk about our last meeting, which again, I apologize for my arriving tardy. We talked about the budget drivers for this year, the bond, the New Hampshire retirement system, and a few other things that I'm sure will be reviewed again today. We talked about revenue and the adequacy amounts. We talked about estimating the state aid, whether that was going to be at 95 or 100% or somewhere in between, and some review of projected revenues. We spent some time talking about Chromebooks and Bedford's model for doing that. Sort of came to the conclusion, I think, that our best way to go about doing that is through a trust and not through having students contribute, because it creates some difficulties for us. And then we talked a little bit about the audit that was discussed at the board meeting. And again, the audit, I think we all talked about, it's in the support materials from our last meeting, right, Steve? And if people really have questions about things related to finance, it's a good, and by good, I mean informative. It's not, you know, if you need something to fall asleep at night, it might be a good choice, but it's very instructive as to the finances of the school. So the first is we've got 2 sets of minutes to approve. The November 12th minutes, if I could have a motion to approve those as produced.
So moved.
Seconded.
And we'll do the roll call. Michelle?
Michelle Clark, yes.
Michelle, are you not feeling well? I'm sorry to hear that. Norm Gupel?
Norm Gupel is a yes.
Steve Chamberlain?
Steve Chamberlain's a yes.
And Rob Nato is a yes. And if I could have a motion to approve the December 9th minutes, that'd be great.
So moved.
Second.
And Michelle Clark?
Michelle Clark, yes.
Norm Gupel?
Norm Gupel is a yes.
Steve Chamberlain?
Is a yes.
And Rob Nato is a yes, which brings us to, and I think we're going to call it the Steve Chamberlain, Michelle Clark show, because we've got a lot to review there. So the first thing is an update of the fiscal year 22 budget.
Sure, I'm going to share my screen if that's all right. Well, I don't like that. Well, I'm going to escape that. Well, let's not do that. I don't see it. Try again. Share. Here we go. Do you see the spreadsheet?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm just going to walk through this a little bit. So at the last meeting, we talked about increasing fund balance to 50,000 and 50,000 more. That would be higher, but not the highest we've ever been. We talked about, instead of 200,000 going in the maintenance trust and the expense side, reducing that to 150, taking 50 from the expense side. That would still be the highest contribution we've given in that fund in a long time. So it's still a strong contribution. We talked about reducing PPE. Instead of having 100,000 in the budget, put 25,000 in the budget, because we are getting some more state aid. And Michelle and I just got notice we're going to get some community donation of the Rotary, some masks. So we think we'll be okay. So that means it's cutting a 75,000 from the 100 that's in the budget. We talked about taking 50 more from Article 10. Did I say that already? Sorry if I did. And then since the last time we met, Michelle and Mandy did some work, and we believe we can reduce district-wide one support staff member and still be okay. So it's not the Maple Street addition, we need that, but we think at the secondary level, we can consolidate and reduce by one. So that reduces the expense and the revenues and the expense here. we're down to 4.44%. Okay. That's just the budget, all right? We've got the increase with the CBA, but no bond. We've got the increase with the bond and no CBA, and then we've got the increase with just the budget. So the board asked, or Robbins, can we talk about trying to get below that, right? Trying to get to below a 4%, which over 2 years, outside of the contract and outside of the bond, is a 2% increase over 2 years, which is a pretty strong, you've talked about that over time, right? A pretty strong approach.
Right.
So Rob, you had mentioned about our athletic fees. And I did talk with the athletic director, Mr. Meserve, and he did reconcile that it's been a while since we've had an increase. Right now, it's $60 and $120 family cap, and we have about 500 athletes. So we could go to, $100 a season with a $200 family cap, and with 500 athletes, that's more revenue we could get. And also, as we start looking at student activity revenue, Michelle looked and rightfully so, looked at the budget and looked at participation year to year and reduced our revenue down $10,000 from previous years because of the COVID world. But I think we can probably look at more normal participation next year now that the vaccine's coming. So we could increase the revenue by 10,000, Rob and Norm, without changing the fee structure. So, and if you wanted to change the fee structure, you could get another 10,000. So that could go up to 20,000. You with me? 10,000 to go back to our traditional revenue,
Right.
and 10,000 to change our fees, because we think we're going to have full slate next year of participation of all athletes, because we think we're going to be back in school, because we've heard from the state by June we'll have anybody who wants a vaccine will be able to have it. You with me?
So if we were
So-
to go to the 100, 200, that might net us another 10 beyond the 10 that we would normally have just at the current rate.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if I change this, and even though it's the Article 10, just with me, just give me some leeway. We're going to change that to 70,000. It's not going to come from Article 10, but it's still revenue. You with me?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that gets us down to 4.31. And in the agenda that's posted, Michelle and I and Mandy were noticed yesterday about a special education aid for this year, and it's higher. It's about $60,000 higher than what Michelle estimated. Remember, everything we do in October, November, we've talked about that. It's all estimates. We do the best we can. But a very, very aggressive approach would be take the full 66 and think we're going to be at the same place. And Michelle and I aren't there because we have Medicaid and there's other variables. But I think we could take 40,000, increase our special education revenue by 30 to 40,000. Because we just got that noticed yesterday or the day before. You with me?
Gotcha.
Yep.
So I'm going to just say this is now 110, you with me? Just to keep it in that column, because we know
Yep.
this one works. Well, and Michelle and I, after we got to the 70, Rob and Norm, we think in order to get that number, 4.31 below 4, we need to get to about another 50. And this will give you 40, so we're almost there. You with me?
I think you got to put your one. There you go.
So we're at 4.06. And we've increased revenue from our athletic fees. And we've adjusted, revised the special education aid estimate based on the most recent data. We've reduced an instructional assistant secondary level that we think we can tighten and schedule. We've taken all but 25 PPE. We've cut the expense in the maintenance trust. We added to the fund balance and added from Article 10. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
And we're at 4.06. Now, how do we get to that last piece? And there's no tone here, Rob. This would be the curriculum piece, right?
Yep.
The curriculum, Michelle, that's about 16. And again, this is ensuring our program continues.
Right.
I'm afraid to change my screen because, you know, I did that once and remember all these text messages came up. So anyway, if, I think the curriculum is 14. So if I make that 124, everybody with
Yep.
me?
Yep.
Actually, I'm going to change, sorry, I'm going to go back to 110. And I'm going to change this to 50 on the expense side.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
so it's on the
Yeah,
expense
that makes
side.
sense. Yep.
And Michelle will kick me virtually if I'm doing something wrong. We're at 3.98. That's 2% increase over 2 years without the bond and without the teacher's contract and, or sorry, all the warrants. Those are separate decisions. And remember, this is over 2 years. I think they're fair, but I think looking at this, and that is $165 on a $100,000 house, $330 on a 200,000. And you can, as you said last week, you want to make a 300,000, you add them together. You want to make a 600, you multiply each by 2. From there, we can kind of do it.
Right.
So over 2 years, a $300,000 house would be about $250, which is $20 a month. I just added those two. We got to 500 and divided by 2 over 2 years. I got to about $20 a month.
Sure.
You with me?
I'm with you.
So I just want to do one, if you humor me, one more thing,
Mhm.
and then we can talk. So I'm just going to say it around an average teacher salary is $100,000. Sorry, all benefits, total comp.
Total cost of employment.
Yeah. And so watch what happens to that 100,000 when I'm going to make this 150. So the cost of a teacher on a $100,000 house, you with me?
$665.
$27.
Right. That's a pretty good value. Oh, you know, and I'm going to take that back because I don't want, so what, we were up to 50 there, right, everybody?
Right.
Yeah.
And we can do more of this. And Rob, you can, this is Michelle. I made one for Michelle because her mind thinks differently, and I gave you guys one. But I like this. I like using Michelle's. But I think that was the task, right? You guys had, how can we get to 2% a year over 2 years? This reduces expenses. It postpones some curriculum work, which with the new superintendent coming in, who knows? That person may have curriculum background and they could own some of this themselves.
Right.
And I know it's not forever. And I know this is the toughest hole we've ever had, right? Revenue from the state, you know, so I get it. But I hope this helps, you know, based on our last conversation, this got to where you guys wanted to get to.
Steve, 3.98% is, I think, exceptional, you know, and we're not affecting program. You know, we've dug a little deeper. You know, I think, you know, as a finance committee, like we wanted to when we met, you know, as a non-meeting. I guess, you know, if we agree on this amount as a recommendation to the board, Rob, do you think you should speak to this, you know, as a recommendation from us, or what's the best way you feel comfortable? I am comfortable with the increase presented here and how we allocated things. Yeah, but we do need to show Armageddon, like you said. We need to show what happens if we go under a certain threshold.
Well, go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
I think the recommendation in terms of the overall numbers, you know, Steve's blue boxes can come from the finance committee. And I'm happy to make that presentation if Steve wants, or if Steve can make it and I can affirm it, whatever we happen to do. In terms of, you know, what we had looked at a little bit of a different spreadsheet that was less information that just got to those same numbers. Maybe we can do that just so we've got that one page. I don't know what you think, Steve. And I'd be happy to put that together because.
Yeah, whatever you need. I just want to this number now is Article 10 increase, special education increase, and athletic fee increase.
Right.
This number now is reduction of instructional assistant and reduction of curriculum work. I
Yep.
just want to make sure that we give direction to Michelle so she can actually plug this in and determine where we are. We're going to reduce the maintenance trust. We're going to reduce the PPE in the budget by 75. And then, you know, she'll audit this and get it down so she can be, you know, and then how I think this is where we go and maintain the quality of school district that we are. And I don't know if it's Armageddon, Norm, but I understand that phrase and why you chose that, because the list that we've worked through the last 3 years through the tiered process is ugly.
Well, the argument is, and it's something I had stressed on the board, but, you know, all due respect to the other board members, is that, you know, we are looking at just the overall increase of the budget minus the bond, because to me, the town voted for the bond, and I know there's an impact on the tax rate with it coming into rotation this year, but we have to run the districts and keep program and other things.
No, I think it's good, Steve. I'm comfortable with it. I think Norm's comfortable with it. I think it's a good case to make in terms of the overall increase to the budget, looking at the trajectory over time, the realities of the bond. I think I would, just for my own comfort level in presentation, put together a snapshot overview as a talking point, and you and I can get together on that tomorrow or Thursday morning.
Perfect.
And I just took a screenshot of this, so I've got it.
Yeah, and I'll share
I
this
did too.
and I'll make sure I share it with you so you can do your thing. And I really appreciate Michelle, who's under the weather, is a trooper, and I know she'll go through it. I did want to, on the agenda, so can you see the staffing ER?
Yeah, what's ER stand for?
Early retirement, right? Yeah. And we were hoping, well, is that the right way? Anyway, we were hoping people would be able to accomplish their goals in their piece of achieving early retirement. And through your direction, I did communicate with the early retiree candidates, and there's no, I'm not comfortable recommending any savings beyond what was in the budget with the original 3, just because of the uncertainty. And there's no tone here. They have every right to March 1st. But it would be too aggressive, I think, for Michelle and I, based on what we did, to recommend putting any savings here. Because we're just not there. And that was on the agenda to update that piece. But we did the special ed aid, we went up 40, and we did athletic fees up 20, 10 to reinstate and 10 expanded. And we did reduce expenses of curriculum side and the instructional assistant side too.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that sorry, Rob, that covered that early retirement component.
Yep. No, thank you for doing that. You good, Norm?
Can I stop sharing this? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, and you'll send a copy to both of us, Steve?
Yep, I'll make sure I share it.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess I just want to make sure we have the breakdown clear, like where the money's coming from, how it's working, and how we got down to that. So it's very clear, very transparent, simple, so the other board members can see how the moving pieces came. I want to be able to present the legwork of the Finance Committee and what we've done. We went back, we looked, and this is what we can do.
So on the agenda, and Michelle and I went through the articles. The articles on the warrant for this meeting, we have the budget, we have the teacher's contract, we have permission to increase the tax rate stabilization. That's not a tax impact. We have the ability to take up to 10,000 in interest from the bond. That would be a penny if we, right, Michelle? You can nod. So if the town said, no, we want to turn that back as fund balance, that would be a penny. And then the big one is the maintenance trust. And the maintenance trust, we went from 100, 200 to 150. So those are the articles. Teacher's right? Budget, teacher contract, really maintenance trust. The interest is a penny. And the other one is raising our ability to increase the tax rate stabilization fund. So it's honestly budget, teacher's contract, and maintenance fund are the 3 significant monetary articles. And
And Steve, correct me, the increase in the overall out of the bond is about 1.4%. That
Yeah, the bond is 53 cents. So
Okay.
what percentage that is of the total tax increase? Michelle can figure that out for us if she wants, but it's 53 cents and the teacher's contract is 31 cents. So that's 84 cents of the entire, that increase is 31 and 53.
Okay, I can do that math in a bit.
So that's the agenda. I covered the articles, we covered the revenue changes, we covered the facility project, we covered early retirement, we did the athletic fees, special ed and support staff. I just want to make sure that I
Yep.
did that for you.
Well, I think we got to where we wanted to be, in protecting, the school system that we have and the programs we've delivered for kids and that we need to deliver to kids. And the Armageddon list that Norm is talking about is the discussions that we had last year. And if we need to have them, then we can have them as a full board or, as questions come forward. But yeah, I mean, after what we've done now, you're down to class sizes and programs and athletics. That's what would be on the table next. And I don't.
And for you, once I share Michelle's the tax rate MRC, there's a tab that reevaluates all of finds new values of all those items, just so you know. So you'll have those.
Okay.
And that's non-public because that's people's salary and positions.
Right. Okay. Anything else, Norm?
No, I really appreciate you calling this meeting. I'm very happy with the work that we're going to bring to the board. I think we're prepared. I think a lot of this, me and Steve are going to get our budget presentation ready. Rob, I'll have you even look at it because there's going to be some unique stuff in there too that I'm going to get from some other people too. But I think that it's going to be good. I'm really pleased with what we did. Thank you.
Michelle, are you okay? Does this help you develop the number? Are you okay? And I will convert this and ask Matt to put this on YouTube as soon as we can. So if you have questions or I have questions, I can go back to this tape. I'm really glad we have the tape because it talks about the we made like 7 changes today. So I mean, it's not, I just want to make sure we have them codified.
Yeah. I'm just going to see if any, we've got a few attendees today. I'll just see if anybody has a question. Now would be the time. So if you are watching in today or listening in and you have a question, now would be the time to do that. You can raise your hand. Steve would give you access to. I think everybody's quiet over there. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a wrap for today. Steve, do we need to set the next meeting date now, or do you want to do that?
Yeah, let's see what the board does on Thursday because we may need one next week. Okay. Depending what the board does again. But is that okay with you? We'll see how Thursday goes.
Yeah, that sounds good. No problem.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Norm, okay? Norm, you're okay? We're okay?
Yep. Steve, I'll be in touch tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Norm. Thanks, Michelle. Michelle, get some rest, okay? Listen to Alexa.
Yeah. See you guys. Thanks.